In the heart of an ancient jungle, where the sun barely pierced the thick canopy of leaves and the rivers wound like silver threads through the dense foliage, there lived a mighty herd of elephants for generations. The jungle had been their home, a place of endless greenery and abundant life. At the head of this great herd was an old bull named Bahari, a wise and battle-hardened elephant, whose very presence commanded respect. Bahari's tusks were the longest anyone had ever seen, curving majestically like the crescent moon, and his broad, scarred body bore the marks of many battles against rival herds. His eyes, though weathered with age, still burned with the fire of leadership and the deep knowledge of the jungle. Bahari had led the herd for as long as anyone could remember. He knew every inch of the jungle, from the highest hilltops to the deepest watering holes. He guided the elephants through seasons of drought, when the rivers ran dry, and times of plenty, when the land bloomed with life. But one day, the jungle was disturbed by a threat unlike any Bahari had ever faced. The peace of the jungle was shattered when news spread like wildfire among the animals. Humans had entered the jungle. These were not the humans who sometimes passed through quietly, gathering fruit or collecting water. These were poachers, men with guns and greed in their hearts. They sought only one thing: ivory. The poachers moved quietly at first, like shadows slipping between the trees, but the jungle itself seemed to sense their presence. The birds stopped singing, the monkeys. Bahari, standing at the edge of a wide clearing where the herd often gathered, felt the shift in the air. His large ears twitched, picking up sounds that were unfamiliar, the clinking of metal. Without hesitation, Bahari raised his trunk and trumpeted a warning call. The other elephants stopped grazing and lifted their heads. The young calves, sensing the tension, huddled closer to their mothers. The younger bulls, less experienced but brave, stepped forward, their trunks swinging in preparation. They looked to Bahari, waiting for his command. "The humans have come," Bahari said, his deep voice resonating like the low rumble of distant thunder. "They seek our tusks, our lives, but we will not run. This is our home. We will not let them take it." As the poachers drew closer, the jungle itself seemed to grow tense. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves in warning. Bahari stood at the front, his tusks gleaming in the fading light of the afternoon. Then, through the thick undergrowth, Bahari saw them. Humans. Their bodies were smaller, weaker than the mighty elephants, but they carried weapons that could kill from a distance. The rifles slung over their shoulders glinted in the sunlight as they approached, moving stealthily through the dense brush. Bahari's eyes narrowed as he watched them. He knew what they wanted. His heart burned with anger, not for himself, but for the young elephants. As the poachers prepared to aim their rifles, Bahari trumpeted again. The poachers hesitated for a moment, but then they raised their guns. Bahari knew he had no time to waste. He lowered his head and charged, his massive feet pounding the earth with the force of a stampede. The jungle seemed to tremble as Bahari barreled toward the poachers. The ground shook beneath his mighty weight, and the air filled with the thunder of his charge. The poachers, shocked by the speed and ferocity of the great bull elephant, stumbled backward, their rifles slipping from their hands. But Bahari didn't stop. He continued his charge. The younger elephants watched in awe as their leader faced the humans head-on. Inspired by Bahari's bravery, the younger bulls trumpeted and prepared to follow him into battle. But Bahari held up his trunk, signaling for them to stay back. This was his fight. He would face the poachers alone. The poachers, scrambling to recover their rifles, took aim at Bahari. A shot rang out, echoing through the jungle. Bahari felt a sharp pain in his side as the bullet struck him, but he did not stop. His legs, strong and powerful, carried him forward. The poachers fired again, but Bahari kept charging. He was unstoppable. He would protect his herd, no matter the cost. As Bahari reached the poachers, he swung his massive tusks, knocking their rifles out of their hands and sending the men tumbling to the ground. The poachers, now weaponless and terrified, scrambled to their feet and fled into the jungle, their shouts of fear echoing through the trees. Bahari stood tall, his body heaving with exhaustion, but his spirit unbroken. He had done it. He had protected his herd. The other elephants, seeing that the danger had passed, rushed forward to surround Bahari. They trumpeted in celebration, their deep voices filling the jungle with the sound of victory. But Bahari, though proud of his victory, knew that the battle had taken its toll. His side ached from the bullet wound, and his legs trembled with the effort of the fight. The sun began to set over the jungle, casting long shadows across the ground. The golden light bathed the elephants in a warm glow as they gathered around their leader. Bahari, though injured, stood tall, his tusks gleaming in the fading light. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Bahari led his herd to a nearby clearing, where they would rest for the night. The younger elephants, full of energy, playfully pushed and tugged at one another, their fear from earlier now forgotten. The older elephants, weary but relieved, settled down for the night, their large bodies forming a protective circle around the calves. Bahari stood at the edge of the clearing, his eyes scanning the horizon. He knew that the poachers might return one day, but for now, the jungle was safe. He had made his last stand, and he had won.